Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NAB 2011, and welcome to the Autodesk booth, and hello to all of our friends viewing over the area. You are in the Autodesk Theater for NAB, and this morning we have a very cool presentation we like to kick off with, which is the Autodesk 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite, working with Autodesk Smoke.
Yes.
And that's going to be for motion graphics. And we have Louis Marcoux here, who actually has graciously agreed to come up and show us a very cool presentation using those two products together. Now, before we actually get into the presentation, Louis, though, I wanted you to actually tell us a little bit about the benefits of working with the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite, and basically take us through you know, all the different tools that are inside this amazing suite. Here we see an overview of the digital production pipeline, what we call the DEC, Digital Entertainment Creation Pipeline. So modernize your pipeline is our theme, actually, for our suites. And maybe you could just take us through a little bit about those benefits, that what you find in the suite.
Well, yeah, the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite is an all-in-one package for 3D asset creation. So you got everything for modeling, for animation, and for eye detail modeling with Mudbox, and also for real-time animation with the Motionbuilder. And what Motionbuilder adds a lot to the suite is that it's an animation hub where you can take animation sources from anywhere and load them onto any of your characters. So it's a really great hub for animation data. So with 3ds Max and the suite, you're getting a full package to create 3D assets with Match Mover, Composite. We've got Max, we've got Mudbox, we've got Motionbuilder. That's everything in one package. Everything in one.
So that's a great message, because it also ties in well with our message for Autodesk Smoke, which it also is an all-in-one editorial finishing solution.
Yep.
And we thought it would be neat to tie these products together into a workflow that makes sense for people to see how you can create 3D assets, render them out, and then bring them into an editorial finishing environment to actually deliver them and actually do versioning and some really
Yep.
cool stuff.
Yep.
The other thing that I thought was cool about this presentation, a little background about Louis himself, is he actually just came to Smoke and learned Smoke about 3 weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Which I think is an amazing challenge, and I think you're going to be really impressed with how Louis can take you through Smoke. He's going to start in Smoke, kind of give us the plan, then jump over to the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite, create his assets, and come back to Smoke in this presentation to show us how he can put it all together.
Good.
All right, so let's go into the UI for Smoke, and this is Autodesk Smoke on the Mac platform.
Yes.
And Louis, why don't you just take it away?
Good. So the first thing I wanted to do, I wanted to take a step back and take a first look at Smoke. So since I was exposed to Smoke for the first time in the last 3 weeks, I wanted to give an introduction to the UI and what I felt was very important, what I found immediately interesting in the product. So what I did here is I've got a project that is from Digital Tutor, and if you visit the Autodesk website, autodesk.com/3dsmax, we've come up with a tutorial that's a motion graphics tutorial done in 3ds Max. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the shots from this tutorial just to assemble them inside of Smoke, just to give you an idea of the editing workflow inside of Smoke. That's going to be our first introduction. Then we're going to go deep into how we interact with 3D assets and rendering and all of that using action and all of that. So it'll be the second part of the presentation. So when you have, this is your edit desk, your environment where you can place your clips. And what I find very interesting is that you can really move things around like this and place the clips in any order without even starting to edit. So if you want to organize your thoughts, your mind, brainstorm about ideas of how you want to organize the clips one after the other, this is very creative and very gestural interface to place or to plan your project. So what I want to do here is I want to assemble these in a storyboard mode, and to do that I'm just going to drag them down like this, and automatically, as you can see, I'm putting them one after the other, and I already start to see the story happening in front of my eyes. So
yeah,
I can
it's very picture-based. It's
visual. Very picture-based, and I can see immediately if the shots work well together. And what I can do as well is, you see the time at the bottom here, so I can drag left and right to see if the cuts are working. So of course we're going to have to, trim and do all of the editing stuff, but it's a first way to assemble your clips together. So obviously here I'm missing shot number 3, so I'm going to just bring shot number 3 inside of the timeline as well. And it's a soccer player, and he should be kicking a ball, and it's right here. So we're going to assemble that using the regular tool or the regular layout of a record timeline. So what we have here is the sequence of the clips that we assembled together, and we're going to start to add layers on top of that and using the masking tool to assemble them together. So I'm going to go into user interface with 2 players. I've got the left, which is our source, and the right, which is our record area.
Standard layout.
Standard layout. So I'm going to grab this ball here, and I want that to be aligned with the the time where he's going to hit the ball. So I'm going to add a new layer here. That's where I want to place that clip. So I'm just going to go right there where the ball starts to move. And I'm going to grab the clip layer here, the player, and I'm just going to bring him right there when he hits the ball. So that's where I want that to happen. So we've got this tool called Align Edit. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to bring the ball right there. The shot now doesn't have a mask, so I'm just going to go into Axis and pick a matte for this, and the matte is available here. So as soon as the matte is on, we have our ball with the transparency channel, and it works very well with the clip. The thing is that the ball is continuing in other shots. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go at the end of that shot. I'm going to cut this, and I'm just going to trash this. Again, very gestural and very fast, very intuitive workflow. It's very based on an artistic vision, so it's very fun to work with. It's not rigid at all. It's very free form, so that's what I like about it. So we want to add a little bit of detail there. So we have a spark effect. So when he kicks the ball, it's going to go right there again at that frame, and I want to insert this right there. So I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to say insert, and it's going to insert it right on top, and we're going to get our sparkle effect like that, and we get our full effect. The last thing I would like to do here is when we go from this ball going in and then we cut to this logo here, it's kind of an abrupt transition. So what I'd like to do is to have a white flash in between. So I'm going to go add a new layer. I don't have any white flash here, so I'm going to go into the video tools, color source, and I'm going to create a 10-frame white color source, and I've got it here, and now I can use that in my timeline. So if I go at the end of my, at the transition level here, I'm just going to go here and say, yep, just drop this here, and it's going to be there, and I can start to animate the look of it. So if I just move one frame, and I can go into a standard player, I don't need to edit clips anymore, so I'm going to be able to focus only on that specific transition. Go one frame here, and you see the transparency is now at 0, so I'm going to record that to have a keyframe. Go at the end of my transition, back off one frame, and we're going to set the transparency here to 100, and we've got our animation of our the white flash coming into this shot. Since I like the effect, I'm going to go at the other shot here, copy this, just drag it in here, and we've got our second effect like that. So this is kind of an overview of the editing tool, the basic editing tool, but Smoke is much more than that. And you'll see that now we're going to go to 3ds Max, we're going to start to build asset, bring them in Smoke to do something a little bit more complex with it. And what we're going to do here is, you see the ending of the clip here. We've got this logo, the soccer, we've got the flags, a lot of that. And I showed that to my producer, and my producer says, I like this ending. I want you to take exactly the same thing with the station logo, and I want to create a graphic for the X-Ball
so a
games.
different version, a different environment.
Exactly. So what we have here, and again, it's another tutorial. It's a Smoke tutorial. And it's available on the area, so area.autodesk.com, and you're going to find these tutorials to learn Smoke. That's how I started learning Smoke 3 weeks ago, and I kind of got inspired by it, and I said I'm going to use these to build a new graphic.
Yeah, and this also is going to incorporate some live action elements as well.
Exactly. So what I'll do is I'll grab these clips here, just the clips that I'm interested in, and I'm just going to bring them to the desktop with those players. And because I've selected them here, you see that I've got a clip here, and it's now a source, and I got everything that I want for inside of that clip. So my goal here is to use this as a inspiration to bring those two players on top of a stage, something like that. And just to give you an idea of what we want to do, I'm just going to go in Paint here, grab this, and I'm going to use the Paint tool of Smoke. Again, Smoke,
so
all in one.
All in one.
I've got everything. I don't have to go to other packages. Everything's happening here.
Integrated.
Yeah, I want to describe what I'm going to do. So we've got the two flags in the back, so I would like to keep them, but I want them to be updatable. So when I'm going to be able to, when I'm going to move from week to weeks, I want to be able to change the flags to the teams or the logos of the teams, be able to change that. I've got my two players. I'd like them to be on the stage here, so I want them to be keyed and on top of the on top of the stage. And we want to have that camera motion going in like this. And on the side, I'd like to have a text. And in the front, I would like to have the X-Ball logo. And in the back here, we would like to have some kind of, a stadium. We'd like it to be collapsing, exploding, and fireworks.
More dramatic.
More dramatic. We want to have a crowd cheering.
Cool.
Something very dramatic and chaotic to show that it's more of an extreme game. So that's kind of the idea. I'm just going to go show you the final goal of what we're trying to produce in 3ds Max. So we've got this here. We've got the flags. We've got the stadium collapsing. We've got the crowd cheering, and we've got the text here that we're going to be able to update inside of Smoke a bit later.
For motion graphics, you want to do versioning, sure.
Yeah, but you see that it's all 3D, so that's why we're going to go to 3ds Max
and that's our
build
perfect,
those assets.
Perfect segue over to 3ds Max. So Louis is going to walk across to the other workstation. I'm going to move over here so we can continue our conversation about the workflow here. And Louis is going to jump right into the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite.
Yes. So in a typical environment for the Creation Suite, you would start in Max. Max is your typical, or your central environment to work. It's the same thing with the Maya Entertainment Creation Suite. Maya would be your central tool, and you go to other tool to do specific tasks. So we're going to start in Max here, and like I said, we want to have a stadium collapsing. So we've got this this column here, and I'd like to break it apart and make it fractured and all of that. So what I'll do is I'll use a script from scriptspot.com. It's my friend Martin Bright, and I hope I'm saying it right. But you know what? I'm French, and I have a weird name, so I'm used to mispronouncing my name, so I'm fine. So just a quick story, a quick important point about ScriptSpot is that scriptspot.com is a website where you can download tons and tons and some of scripts. And it's a community website where people put their script for free, and you can download them, and you have all sorts of tools to enhance or augment the tools that you have in 3ds Max.
That's cool. It's like the area in a way, right? The area where user community.
Exactly. So this script here is just going to allow me to fracture this in multiple fragments. I'm just going to go once. It's going to break it into pieces. Again, I can grab another piece and say I want to fragment this piece again. And it's using the ProCutter tool that are inside of 3ds Max. So basically, it's just a script that automates the process, makes it much faster.
Yeah, that's
and
easy.
in the demo, it's easy. Just got it to break it apart in a very few seconds. I'm going to close this down, and I've done that for all of the column here. So you see, I'm going to grab all of these. And my goal is to make them fall with gravity. So I want to do a rigid body dynamic simulation. So in order to do that, I grab all the object, select all of the object, and I just say to 3ds Max, those are dynamic rigid bodies. Turn that on. You'll see that it's going to create automatically the cage and all of that for the simulation to optimize the simulation. And I'm going to grab the bottom here and say that's a static rigid body. So now it knows that it has to be part of the simulation, and it's going to be doing it. So when I'm ready to go, I'm just going to go here and say start the simulation, and it's going to use gravity and all of that, and it's going to all break. And as you can see, very few seconds, and we've got that going. Of course, for our full graphic, we'd like that to be a bit more dramatic. So what I've done here is I've done that multiple times on multiple columns to create the whole stadium area. And what I've got now is something a bit more dramatic, where we have all of them breaking apart.
Oh, that's neat.
And so that's going to be our stadium. That's going to be the first part of the environment that we're going to use. Then I'm going to jump here to a fireworks setup. And the fireworks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use particle flow. Particle flow is an event-driven particle system inside of Max, and it's used a lot in films and in broadcast graphics. Because it's event-driven, you can create any types of stories with particles and make them very complex and very advanced visual effects using that.
Okay.
But if you're new to particle flow, what you're going to do is you're going to bring it up the interface here. It starts with an empty space, and you just bring in all of these operators, and you bring them in, and you connect them, and you do some tests, and then you create your particles. If you're new to particle flow, there's a thing here called the preset flow. So if I drag that in, you'll see that we've got a bunch of presets that we ship with 3ds Max. We've about 100 of them, and they're made by Hollywood artists. So that's what's great. We hired someone, they made all these presets, and you can bring them in. So you see that we've got dirt, we've got grass effect, we've got explosion, we've got flames, we've got sparks, all of logo and things like that. So you can, fountains, all of this can come in.
Yeah, presets
and you can
are
start
great.
from, because we load the preset, you can change them, no problem. So what I've done here is I've created a preset for fireworks. So I'm going to enable the fireworks here, show you that we've got a rise event. So basically, we're creating particles. We're positioning them on the fire launch here. It's going to launch that. They're going to have a speed. They're going to be affected by gravity. And after a certain time, they're just going to explode. And when they explode, they spawn new particles. And we also create a trail. And at this point here, after a certain time, the trail ends. So it's basically pretty straightforward. You know, it's just a simple effect. But what we get is the firework effect, something like that. And we're going to get the firework here. So I'm going to move aside. So those are the firework. We get the trails. If you don't like the look of it, I can go back to the event here and say, well, I want to have a bit more variation in there. I want them to spread a little bit more. So all of these settings will allow you to get the look that you want. And my goal here is, since I'm not sure about how many fireworks I'm going to use in the end, do I want to have a lot or not a lot? I want to be able to make that decision in the end in Smoke. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the position object, and I'm going to create a few variations. with different colors, and I'm just going to send that as multiple passes, and then in the end, they're just going to have to decide more choices. So it's very easy to create multiple version or randomization based on those particles, and then after that, you export all of that separately.
Now, what about the crowd? We talked a little bit about putting the crowd in front of the stadium.
Yeah. So a crowd always start with one individual. So this is going to be my...
One's a crowd?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 3ds Max, we've got, I would say, 3 character animation system. We've got one, the Max Bones, which is if you want a custom rig, you go and create your own constraint system and create your custom rig, we have a system like that. If you're new to character animation and you just want to start animating, we've got this tool called Biped. It's a one-click rig, and it's already ready to go, and it's been in Max for a long time, so people know it pretty well. So it's FK, IK, all of that. So you can grab any members like this, and it's always going to behave like a human. So that's going to be Biped. We also have a system called CAT, or Character Animation Toolkit, and it's a bunch of presets that you can load in and edit and change if you want to, and you can create your own preset. So if I want to create, for example, an angel, we've got an angel here. We've got like a crab. All of these are basic presets, but like I said, you can create your own. So we even have a centipede, which is multiple legs, and all of this comes with 3ds Max on the basic install.
That's what comes with Max, but in the suite, you get more than that.
Yes, you get Motionbuilder as well. And people sometimes ask me, what is Motionbuilder for exactly? So essentially, Motionbuilder is a real-time animation system. And by real-time is that everything happens in real time, so you get immediate feedback as you're animating. But if you have animation coming from different sources, from motion capture sources, or if you buy a motion capture from the internet and as an FBX file, you load it into Motionbuilder, you're able to retarget or to feed any animation onto your character. So it's an animation hub that doesn't care about how many bones is on your system, what your rig is all about. It's going to understand what a character is, and it's going to put the animation on your character.
And it comes with the suite, so you might as well use it. So the real time is really going to be the point here.
So if you want to go to Motionbuilder, just select everything you want to send to Motionbuilder. So now I've got my character, I've got the bone system that drives it, and I'm going to go here and say send to Motionbuilder, and we have the option to send it as a new scene or update the current scene. So I'm just going to go here, say send as a new scene. It does all the magic, and then I can just go into Motionbuilder, and it's going to open up in Motionbuilder.
So this is what we like to refer to as a one-click workflow, right?
Yes, exactly. That's the one-click workflow. I'm going to delete the camera here because I want to work in a free-form environment, and I can orbit around. So we've got our character, and if I just switch to view mode, you'll see that we've got all the bones coming in. The thing is that when we load something in Motionbuilder, Motionbuilder doesn't know that it's a character. You have to tell it that it's a character. So you grab one of the bones, and you just go here in your templates, and you say, just grab this here, characters, and go into my asset browser here. 3ds Max Biped. Okay, it's not showing as a, I'm just going to go in. I think it's better like this. Okay.
There we go.
3ds Max Biped template. So the idea is you just drag it, drop it on your bone, say characterize, and it's going to know that it's a character.
That's
so now
good.
that it knows that it's a character, what I like to do is for my character, I like to give them a reference. So I'm going to go back here to the character definition, okay, and I'm going to grab the biped reference, drop it in here, and just characterize again. So it's just a small detail, but the reference allows you to move the whole character at once, which is going to be important in the next part of the presentation. I'm going to create a control rig for it. So when you create a control rig, it's a full body IK. And by full body IK, what I mean is that if I grab the hand here, you'll see that the whole body is going to follow. It knows how a human should behave, so it's always going to behave like that. But what the full body IK allows you to do is, because now Motionbuilder understands that it's a character, you can grab animation sources, load this onto this character, and it's going to work fine.
And this is fun because you didn't just go out and grab some random source animation. You got your girlfriend to help you out on this, I think.
Yes. So you probably heard of the Kinect. You know, it's an Xbox. I love to play games, so we've got the Kinect at home.
Is awesome, yeah.
With the Xbox. And I've heard of a guy on a website, Brekel.com, so Brekel. So if you want to know more, it's on my blog. You can find all this information. But the idea is you've put out a tool that allows you to load motion or to have the Kinect connected to Motionbuilder and feed animation data. So it's motion capture with the Kinect. So Kinect is $150. So it gives you limited amount of information, but enough to animate a character and start and maybe refine it later. For a crowd, I've got a big crowd, so all I wanted is just people cheering. I don't care about details in their hands or things like that. So that was enough, and that's what we did. So what I did here is my mocap, just going to drag it in, merge all my takes, and I've got my girlfriend here. You know, she's back at home. I miss her, so it's a good way to. So she cheered like that, and then we did a few takes. So take number 2 here. We got her cheering here, so something like that. Then I've got take number 3. You know, she's just like this, and I've got take number 8. You know, things like that. She's clapping her hands. And take number 7, where she's just like waving like this.
So now we want to put these on a bunch of different characters, right?
So my goal is to bring them into 3ds Max, all of them. So we're just going to do one just to give you the idea of the workflow.
Okay.
But the idea is that when you get motion capture like this, what I do is that my character right now is just using the control rig. So I'm going to change the source, and I'm going to just say connect mocap. As soon as the connect mocap is on, you'll see that my character is going to behave exactly the same way. Of course, like I said, it's not perfect because the connect doesn't give you hand motion or end rotation, so you can go and fix that. So to fix that, just give you a quick overview, is if I go to the characters here and I grab my biped, in the character settings you've got a few tools that will allow you to fix the animation data, remove some jittering and things like that, finesse it and make it look good. So I'm just going to show you a few of them, or just one of them. I want the character to stand on the ground, so you see that right now the feet are kind of staying in the air, and I want them to be on the floor. So I'm going to go in feet floor contact, turn that on, and as soon as you do that, you see that the feet are on the floor. But if I grab the reference here that I brought in, you see that I can rise it up or lower it down. So my animation data is still there, but I'm able to define how this character is going to stand on the ground. So when you're filtering or you're refining animation data, that's the kind of tool that will help you to do it, to finesse it and make it look the way that you want. So what I'll do now is I'll just bake that to the rig to do some fine adjustments. So now what we have is 2 animation layers. I've got the base animation and animation layer number 1. And my goal is to fix all of these little things. So probably when we created the character and when we registered the connect data, the rotation of the arms were not perfectly aligned. So what I'll do here is I'll go animation layer number 1. And I'll grab the shoulder here, and I'll just go into rotation mode, and I'll say, well, I want that to be a bit more rotated like that, and rotated like that, maybe more forward, something like that, so that it fits more with the back there. I'm going to create a keyframe, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other one here. Just do something like that, and rotate it so that it's perfectly aligned, or kind of similar to the back. And I'm going to create a key here, and what we're going to get is something that fits a bit more with what we want. So once you've done all these adjustments, you refine your animation data, you're ready to send it back to 3ds Max. So to do that, I'm going to say character, put that onto the original skeleton, bake it back to the skeleton, and then I'm going to say select that skeleton, and you see that there's a button here called Update 3ds Max. Just click on that.
Wow.
It's going to bring back 3ds Max, and my character will be animated with the animation data.
So
like
again,
that.
one click back to Max, and you're there.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so now we got the one character.
We've got one character. If we want to multiply this into our environment and create a crowd, I need to copy it multiple times. But the thing is that the biped here, I don't want to copy the bones for every single character. It's just too much objects, and if you want to create 1,000 characters, it's going to be too much. So what I'll do here is I'll bring in, just give you an idea of the workflow. We've got the skin modifier that attached the character to the bone system. I'm going to load in a point cache modifier. I'm going to create a point cache. I'm just going to override this one here and say that's fine. And I'm going to record the animation. So when we record, it records as a point cache data. Now I can turn off the skin modifier, and you see that it's still animated. And because it's a point cache, I can go back here and say I'm going to load in another character. And I'm going to just drag this point cache onto this other character. This character doesn't have any skeleton, but it's animated exactly the same way.
That's cool.
So if you bring in all the takes, what you're going to get is something like that. So I've brought all of my 8 takes, and I've just applied them. I'm just going to turn off edge faces here, like so. So those are all the characters. They're all animated. They all have a different animation. So if we kind of randomize all of this in the crowd, it's going to work. We're going to get the effects that we want. The reason why I've made them dark gray is that I want them just to kind of do a shadow kind of effect. I don't want to have colors coming from them. So I just made them dark gray. It's an easier way to create a crowd. I'm going to grab all of them. I'm going to go in Object Paint. I'm going to say that I want to use these guys, add selection as Object Paint. I want to paint randomize, so randomize order. And we're pretty much ready to go. So if I just say paint on selected object, and I'm going to select the stadium steps here, go in paint mode, and I can start to brush characters in.
This is so cool. You're actually painting your crowd onto the platform.
Onto the objects, yeah. So
It's amazing.
Now you see that they're not looking in the right direction. They're kind of, so my brush is still alive. Those are the object paint tool. So I'm going to exaggerate the spacing in between the characters. I'm going to make them look not towards the normal, but just towards Z space up. I'm going to rotate them so that they look towards the stage here where the action is happening. And I'm going to randomize just a little bit their position in U and V space and maybe increase the spacing a little bit more, something like that. I want to randomize their size as well. So I'm going to go between 80% and 120% of my original size and maybe rotate them just a little bit more towards the center. And now that these settings have been adjusted, I can continue to paint and add more, and it's going to remember these settings. So I can have as many characters as I want. I can bring them some here. I can bring some here, and so on and so forth.
That is so cool.
Painting characters. So if I want to use this for my crowd, though this is my final crowd, all of this with my 8 takes of animation using the Kinect and Motionbuilder, and we've got our crowd here cheering.
Yeah.
And
so from one to many, with a little help from the Kinect, and of course with a little bit of Motionbuilder and 3ds Max, you're there. So that's great. So there's another element that you also wanted to do, the foreground element for this, right?
So the foreground, what I did is I just created a few objects here with the Polygon Modeling tools inside of 3ds Max, just to show you the modeling workflow. So this is all Polygon Modeling, and we've got Polygon Modeling for the terrain here. What I did is I just want to show you the logo. So the logo is just pretty much an AI file coming in. So any type of spline base can be brought into 3ds Max. So it's an editable spline. I can extrude it, so we're going to extrude that, and I've applied an edit poly modifier to refine the bevel and all of that. So any type of spline inside of Max can have the same workflow. So here we've got a text object, so I can change the font, I can write my own text and all of that, and then I can extrude it, and I can adapt it and change it the way that I want. So it's a very straightforward workflow.
Great for broadcast graphics and stuff.
Exactly. So my goal here is to have the X-ball start like this, and then we're going to create a camera movement that's going to end up on that screen here, and that's the goal of our shot there. And our 2 players will be here on that platform.
Right.
So the terrain here, you see that it's, again, Polygon Modeling. And what I'd like to do is to refine it, to have very detailed rocks on it and add some details to it. So in order to do that, I will send to Mudbox. And Mudbox is our sculpting and painting tool that comes with the suite. And it's done for high polygon modeling. So it's not just regular polygons, it's high density meshes, like millions of polygons.
Wow.
So what I need to do here is just say go.
I'm guessing that it is a one-click workflow to Mudbox as well.
Yes, it is.
It's in the theme of the suite. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
Great.
So send to Mudbox, send as a new scene. You're going to send that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to head in Mudbox,
Boom,
and you get your mesh. So I already prepared that in Mudbox because I wanted to show you high polygon modeling. So I've detailed this up to 3.39 million polygons. So there's a lot more polys onto the surface. What it allows you to do is I'm going to add a new layer of transformation. Same thing as the modifier workflow. You add transformation, but you can, because you do them in layer, you can separate them and change them later or delete some transformation if you don't like them.
More flexibility.
So what I'll do is I'll do it in Sculpt, and I'll just grab a stem with just rocks here, and I start to rub in, and you see that it starts to detail out and give you that effect of the rocks on the ground. So you can do that and do the whole thing. So that's what I've done here. So I'm going to trash this layer. I've kind of arranged the surface with lots of details, and I've also had some details for the rocks, and I've added cracks there where the X-ball logo should stand.
The logo sits there.
Exactly. So it's very, this tool, Smoke, it took me like maybe a week to learn it. This is going to take you an hour. So it's super fast.
That's cool.
So you put, it's a lot of fun, and you lose yourself into it because it's like drawing.
It's an artist tool.
Yeah, exactly. But you can add as much details as you want. So that's the sculpting part, but you see you can sculpt and you can also paint. So the paint here, if you go, I'm just going to add a new layer to paint. And the paint, we've got all the paint tools that are associated to standard painting. So we've got, I'm just going to switch here. We've got paintbrush, projections, pencil, all of that, and I can start to paint on the mesh. So if I go into the stems here and I want to maybe paint that pattern, I'm just going to grab it, and then I can start to paint. Oops, I'm still in sculpting. I'm going to go in paintbrush and grab that pattern and start to paint, and you see that it's going to start adding this as a texture onto my object. If I want to paint rocks, same idea. I'm just going to grab rocks here, and it's going to paint rocks. Also, what you can do is I can go to the image browser, and I'm just going to go back to my own browser here.